community?
There's no doubt about that. Unfortunately, African-American neighborhoods are less likely to get tested. And the bottom line is there's just two types of people now in our community. Ones that are infected or ones that are potentially going to be infected. The only way to know the difference is to get tested. And there is no excuse in the Houston community to not get tested. We have multiple free sites in Houston where testing can be done. It's an imperative that everyone in our community, but especially African Americans, because we're disproportionately affected, come to get tested so you'll know whether or not you're positive or not. If you're positive, it's important to connect into a healthcare person that essentially does COVID-19 for a living, so you can make sure that you can get tested and potentially treated before you become ill.
But even with testing, how big of a factor are the what we've often heard of, the underlying health issues in the Black community? How much is that influencing the negative outcomes we're seeing?
It's a much greater thing. African Americans are 30% more likely to have pre-existing conditions. We're unfortunately overrepresented in what I call high contact essential services. Bus drivers, grocery store personnel, nurses, things like this. And so we're more adept in getting infected. And unfortunately, with the 30% increase in pre-existing conditions, this makes us more prone to have complications if we experience a COVID-19 infection.
So at this point, how big of a challenge is it for to make African Americans, like everyone else, believe in the social distancing mandates and also the need to get testing?
Well, the only way to combat COVID-19 is not to get it. The only way to not to get it, we must, as a community, do social distancing. Again, because we have these contact essential services, sometimes it's more difficult. We have high-density population centers where many people are living in single homes, often multi-generational living conditions. And so we're unfortunately having sometimes difficulty in social distancing. So we must social distance to decrease the incidence in our communities. And everyone in our community needs to be tested, because if there is a person in your household that's positive, we need to know, one, to not only get that person in a treatment, but to make sure we test others in the household to make sure that the disease is not spread, so we can get to the treatment algorithms and treatment programs early.
How optimistic are you that we'll be able to conquer this and get it done in short order?
I'm confident if Houston and our community gets together and do what we need to do. We have the tools that are necessary to get ahead of this infection, but we don't have time to wait. We're already behind, if you will, but there's no reason we cannot try to catch up in the next few weeks. Social distancing. Everyone needs to get tested. It is free. You may have to stand in line for a bit, but our community